Hey guys, how's it going? Miso here, back with another Exos Heroes video, and I apologize for not uploading videos as much these days because things have been really busy at work, and when that kind of happens, at the end of the day, I'm just kind of tired and I don't really want to, edit videos or do anything like that. It just, kind of gets to me, but I still like making videos. I still want to make videos for you guys, which is why I still upload as much as I can. And today is sort of a bit of a, I guess, a downer slash bummer video, unfortunately. I know my first Exos Heroes video in a while, and it's kind of a bummer video. And this video is going to be about me potentially taking a break from Exos Heroes. So I know a lot of people are kind of in the same situation of being in endgame, and I don't know if it's just me, but I am feeling the endgame burn right now. I like, when you get to endgame, really like the flaws of the game really start showing itself, and I don't really see any effort in these flaws being addressed because a lot of these flaws were kind of, things that I talked about in my, previous video about like why you shouldn't play Exos Heroes, which at the time, because the game just came out, this was like a month or a month and a half ago, people were kind of, they're flaming me a lot because they're like, yo, you're just, play this game for like no time, you're dumb, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, looking back at that video, a lot of the criticisms that I have to this game still stand. And right now, there are even more things on top of those that I find kind of annoying and frustrating. And I'm just, kind of want to talk about here today, like what I feel like Exos Heroes needs to do to make people a little bit more interested in the game or want to come back or whatnot, whatever it is. So let's just start off here. First thing I think that, has really gotten me bummed out is kind of like the progression in this game. So end game, really, what you're going to be progressing on is mostly gear, right? So how do you get that gear? Well, there's two ways, mainly. Stars of Fate and Dragon Relics. And those give you your faded armors and your faded weapons. And other than that and the rolling that gear, there really isn't too much other like form of progression. There's only those two things that you do, and you just auto the content or even quick battle it, and there's no like real diversity of teams or like whatever. You just kind of slap some Dragon Blood units in there that match the element and just auto it, face roll it. There's not like any strategy involved with this PvE content. It really is all just like, slap some strong units in there we go. And that kind of gets to me. It's just like, a little boring. And it's like some days, you just don't get luck either. You just don't get progression. Some days you just keep getting the same boots, the same magic damage boots. And, you're like, all my units have boots. I'm missing a chest armor and I don't, need that, but I don't get it. So it's like, just I don't feel like the end game progression is really exciting for me. But, that's not it. Like, I don't mind a grind. I don't mind doing, stuff like that. Like, that's not the only thing. It's, like, part of it. But, like, if it was just that, I'd be happy to continue playing for a while. I think the real, like, the real, like, boring part of the game right now is really just, like, the content, right? Endgame content. What is that? That's all basically, like, the PvP content. That's what you're looking forward to in every kind of, like, gacha game, being the end game. And I really think that the PvP system needs a lot of work. Both the gear and the PvP system, which are kind of intertwining. So I'll talk a little about that. So let's start off with the gear. So with the gear in this game, right, as I mentioned, you pull for this faded equipment. But with this gear, there really is not a diversity of stats. Every piece of equipment, like, you know exactly what stats drop on a glove. You know exactly what stats drop on a helmet, etc., etc. There's, and there's no, like, different types of stats. Like, it's all just going to be, like, hit, crit chance, attack speed. You get the same thing with every equipment. It's just the numbers, whether it goes up or down. So because of that, there really isn't much of a diversity for builds, right? A lot of what I like about RPGs is like being able to come up with my own builds, come up with my own ideas for how to make units, how to use units, And because of the way that the gear system is built in this game, you really can't do that. There's no diversity of builds. The one thing is like, gear sets, right? You have like machine set, you have, the blue set for block, the block set, dodge set, damage reduction set, the shield set, like the lifesteal set, which is cool, but that's only a couple ways to build your characters, right? And if you're looking at what's being used in PvP, it's really only dodge, block, damage reduction, and like maybe you slap in 2 pieces of machine set in there, right? There's really not much diversity because of that. And that's mainly caused by the current PvP meta. So what is the meta right now? As I mentioned in my previous video, it's literally just all burst, right? Oh yeah, and really this PvP, like part of this is like the block set, right? People bring that in because of the burst meta. The only way to really kind of mitigate damage is to completely avoid it with dodge or blocking it, which reduces like 50% of damage, or like damage reduction, which is like, guaranteed damage reduction. But like with block, I still think that's a BS mechanic in this game. Like, seriously, I hate how a lot of times I lose because a unit blocks one of my attacks. Like, you have like this DPS unit on a DPS set, or let's just say like Rira on a dodge set, but somehow she blocks your AoE and just wipes your entire team after that. It's like, what? I don't think that should be the case. But regardless, PvP right now, there really is no diversity. All the sets are the same. All the teams are the same. Literally, even like the meta before, right? You'd have some diversity. Some people ran a Fate Core Garf instead of a Loom in the front line. It's a little bit of diversity, but like now it's like literally the same exact team comp going in every single time. It's just Shafraken, FC Iris, FC Bathory, FC Annie, FC Rira. There's no diversity on the PvP right now. And I'm not saying this because I'm salty or anything about not pulling units. I have all these units. I have them built. I pulled all of them. I even spent money to get Iris. But I just don't find this fun. I don't find not having any diversity in the teams fun. And a lot of that is due to, of course, Iris, but like, the PvP like units were pretty stale before that. Like, the game just doesn't have strategy because, the game is like that because there's not real much strategy involved in terms of picks and counter picks. Your offense team and your defense team have to be the same. And going into PvP, you can't tell what the enemy has on their team. So all you can really do is just bring your best units and the best units in the meta. So that kind of, originally, like, that existed even before Iris, right? And that took out a layer of strategy. But at least when you went into battle, right, with the previous meta, you had to think about who you could hit, what moves you could use, what moves you couldn't use. Because if you use the wrong move at the wrong time, or hit the wrong unit at the wrong time, you'd be done. Like, let's say you hit a Dragon Blood unit a little bit early before you kill them, they could wipe out your entire team. Now, it's just like, hit AoE button, hit AoE button, hit AoE button. Oh, gonna use Iris's mana to give me a little more mana. AoE, AoE. There's really not much thought to it. It's just whoever does the most damage first wins. And that's unfortunate. Like, a game that had little strategy before in PvP, with the fact that you couldn't choose your teams, choose who you're going up against, know who you're going up against before, like, that's just boring. Like, no strategy in gear, no strategy, because it's like all just the same stats. You can't like build different builds. No strategy in the units that you use because you can't tell what team you're going up against, even though 90% of the time you know what you're going up against technically. But like, there's no like counterplay to that right now, because especially because your defense team is the same as your offense team. There's just no strategy. I keep saying that. Like, there's nothing to tickle my brain with. There's nothing where I'm like sitting in the lab like, ooh, I can't wait to do this next guild war. Can't wait to do this in, Colosseum, like not Colosseum, Zebenstein, or the arena in this game. There's nothing like that. So it's just not exciting. And along with that, like, even if you were invested in PvP, right? Even if you're like, this meta's fine, I'm fine with whatever's going on, I'm fine doing no strategy, great, PvP matches go by quicker. Climbing PvP in terms of like there's like regular arena, it's pretty impossible to do unless you play a ton or buy passes because of how the game works, right? When you hit Challenger 1, you basically hit a wall where unless you start buying passes or using your PvP tickets at like right as you get them, you're not getting past Challenger 1 because it's like a percentage, right? Where are you in the pack? And only a top certain percentage of the pack get pushed up to the next level. And then at that point, you got to keep it up, right? You got to keep doing it or else you'll get pushed down. It's just a huge burn, a huge grind, and like I don't have the time for that. And I don't think most people have the time for that either. It's just, frustrating that PvP really you can't climb. Even if you wanted to. And let's say like you're not, arena's fine, you don't really care about arena. You should be caring about Guild War, right? That's when you play with your friends, work together to beat the enemy teams. And really, that's even more of a joke than the regular arena itself. Like, the hours are dumb. It's like you have like 12 hours to do the Guild War starting from like 9 p.m. PST. It's like, what? I'm asleep for most of that. And then after that, you have to create your team and fix it up within the certain time slot. And a lot of people apparently don't do that because I'm in a top 100, sometimes even top 50 guild. And I still go up against teams that have nobody in them because these people aren't setting up their teams. They're probably forgetting to do it because it's at such a wacky time. And like, I don't know. It's just having that happen is just like, what's the motivation for doing Guild War? Why do it? Like, yeah. And, with the PvP meta, it exists in Guild War too, right? It's the same exact thing. There's no difference in arena, like regular arena versus Guild War. It's the same exact teams. You're going up against the same thing. It's just, not fun. And then on top of that, you can't like choose who to go up against, right? You can't like, let's say like your guild, you have some weaker people, some newer people, and they're just going up against these teams that are just completely wrecking them because they're not the same gear level. Like, I wish you could choose what team you're going up against, or like, yet again, be able to see what team you're going up against in general. That way you can look at it and kind of think about counter picks, thinking about ways to build around these. Like, there's just no strategy there. And then you have to kill all three teams, right? You can't have to survive all three waves. You lose a unit, it's gone for the next match as well. So you're 4v5 at that point. And it's just like, why? I wish I could just back out and like, refresh my units, or, let me back out and replace that unit. That way I can actually use more units and not just worry about the same old units over and over again. There's going to be at least a little bit of diversity there, right? But no, you have to go through all of it and survive with your entire team. And that's just, I don't know. That just is dumb to me. Like, I think overall the general gist of this game is like, there's no strategy. There's no thought to it. Like, it's just, hit button, hit enemy, AoE, boom, boom, make a lot of explosions. And, like, that is extremely boring to me, especially when, I've always mentioned this. My main game's Epic 7, right? That game, there's a ton, like, and yes, there's a lot of the same units in the meta and defense teams, but really, when you're going in offense, you could use so many different units, like, because you get to pick, you get to counter pick, you get to choose what your units are, you get to have a diversity of builds for your units, like my, like the most prevalent unit in the game, Arbiter Vildred. You have multiple builds for them. You have the speed build, you have pure damage build. You can use a certain different artifacts with the Lexa's Basket, or you could use Moonlight Dreamblade, or you could use counter set. It's just like, there's these different builds that you can make for these units to make them interesting and give them a little bit of your own flavor, as opposed to like this game where you don't get to build your units, in any particular way. So you know exactly what you're going up against. You don't get to, change up your teams. You don't get to counter pick. There's just so many things that, make this game not have any depth to it. And that really bores me so much. And on top of that, I think in the end of the day, this game is still a cash grab. Like, with the whole, like, Lepin thing where they gave us our Zest back, and, like, they let us pool on Lepin and get our Zest back again. Like, that's awesome, right? Like, wow, this company's really great. They're so generous. And a lot of people at the beginning of the game were like, this company's so generous. But they're not. At the end of the day, they're not. The banners are 1 week cycles. They don't give you enough Zest to keep up with those banners. They gave you a lot of free Zest up front, but because how you get most of your Zest is through the weekly things from, like, Arena, you get it from, Guild Wars, you get it from checking in your guild, you get it from, you get it from achievements. It gets harder and harder, especially because the achievements, are the ones that give you the most, right? The biggest burst of Zest income, like, because it's achievement based, with every achievement you get, it gets harder and harder, and your Zest rate goes down and down and down. So having the 1 week banners in combination with that, it's just, it's hard. And also, no matter what anybody says, FC Iris is a cash grab. Like, in this meta, it's completely and solely defined by FC Iris. And if you don't have her, you're basically done. I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to do much in PvP. And because of that, if you had to pull her, you either had to pull her with your free Zest or pay money for her, or else you're not going to stay competitive in PvP. Not even close. Like, so many of these people I go up against in Guild Wars, they're way better geared than I have. But because they don't have Iris on their team, they just die. And I think that's just dumb. So, in general, I just think that there needs to be a lot of fixing for this game. A lot of improvements. They have made a lot of improvements since, my first video, right? About why you shouldn't play Exos Heroes. But, like, I still think the core pieces in there that, really make this game, especially at endgame, a real drag exist. And that's the reason why I'm taking a break from this game. Like, and I'm saying take a break very specifically because I do like the game. I liked it. It was a fun game when I played it. And even when there were so many of these problems, I still continued playing it for a while because I like the character designs. I like the animations. I like all these things about the game, but there's just a huge layer, mainly just like strategy, I think, is missing from this game. There's nothing stimulating me in terms of, like, showing who I am, showing myself through my characters, and having a strategy in PvP. There's nothing there for me. And that's what I, enjoy about games the most, right? There's other things as well, but those are kind of the main things, and I don't want to make this, like, a huge laundry list of problems for the game. But, maybe I'll return to this game in the future if I'll keep up with it, keep up with updates, take a look what's going on. But, like, other than that, I really don't think I can keep playing this game at the state that it is at. I have other games, Guardian Tales, Epic 7, some other PC games that I play, Call of Duty, and work, of course, that I need to keep up with. So there's just a lot of things that I'd rather be doing other than this. Let me know, but as always, let me know what you guys think. Are you still playing the game? Do you still get excited by the game? Like, what about the game excites you? Please tell me, because I'd love to know. And what about the game, you know, if you're kind of in the same boat as me, why are you quitting for the same reason, or consider quitting, or like taking a hiatus for the same reason? What would you like to see improved in the game? Like, I've noted a couple things, but there's definitely things I've left out. Which, you know, if you look on the screen right now, this is also another dumb thing that I, you know, didn't talk about, but like status ailments and disables that you can't dispel or prevent. Like, look at my characters. They're just sitting there stunned for the rest of the game. But yeah. Alright, guys. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Leave a thumbs down if you didn't, and tell me why. And yet again, this is going to be, you know, nobody likes it when I talk negative things about a game, but like, you know, if you really just, you know, disagree with me and that's why you're thumbs downing it, reconsider that, please. If you're thumbs down, I hope it's really just because you didn't like the progression of the video, or I got like points wrong or something, not because you don't agree with my points. And yeah, if you enjoy my video content, if you want to see like, you know, Guardian Tales, if you want to see like, you know, Epic 7, if you want to see like, I'm considering doing like, starting to do like Japanese mobile games and like taking a look at that before they come in the States. Like, I do know how to speak Japanese decently well. Reading it's kind of another thing. So like, you know, I'll try to do some coverage of that and just think of like other ideas for videos, you know, to make. If you like that, please consider hitting that sub button. But until next time, guys, I'll see you all later. Peace out.